All right, welcome back. Since this is the week of AI news with a new version of OpenAI releasing a GPT 4.0 this week, and then I think there were also a bunch of announcements from Google's I/O conference with some of their new AI tools, and I actually forget the name of the ChatGPT equivalent. I thought it might be fun to do a quick little video showcasing the power of GPUs. Since if you watch any of the news around AI, right, where there's kind of an arms race right now and everyone is trying to get their hands on more and more GPU power. And so I thought, you see all this about the arms race, but how much do you really need a GPU? Like, I think obviously the answer is a lot. But I thought it would be fun, and this is one of those fun little projects you can do in your home lab if you have an hour on the weekend. And what I thought would be fun to do is use Ollama, which you can see here in front of us, to host models locally. Now, this is what Ollama allows you to do, is host models locally on your own machines in your home lab and see what the performance difference is between GPUs. And I don't mean between two types of GPUs, like the newest NVIDIA card and an older one. I mean between a GPU and no GPU. Now, I think we all know what that's going to look like, but it's a fun little experiment you can run on your own. And the cool thing about Ollama is you can grab some of the latest models. So this has Meta's latest Llama 3 model, and that's what we're going to use for this example. And the other thing is we're going to be testing inference with these models. So that is using the models to answer questions. And so we'll be using them to answer questions in a conversational ChatGPT-like format. Now that uses like GPU computation, but I was actually surprised at just how significant the difference is. Now, I assumed a lot of the computation would be driven on the training side, but on the inference side, I didn't think it would be as stark as it is. So I'm not going to go through a whole tutorial on how to set up Ollama and run it. It's actually really straightforward. There's the download button right in front of us. You click it. I will say this, if you are trying to run Ollama on Windows, I would highly recommend installing the WSL, the Windows Subsystem for Linux, and that'll give you the latest Ubuntu, among other things, but Ubuntu in a lightweight VM on your machine, and that just makes this so much easier. But here's what we're going to do. This is the test setup we have. So for one of the machines, I'm going to use, I have a VM set up on my Proxmox server, and basically I wanted to throw as much compute as I could at the model. Now, this is a server, it's a rack server, it's out of a data center, it has no GPU. But what it does have, it has two Xeon E5-2680 V4 CPUs with a total of 56 cores running at 2.4 gigahertz, and it has a total of, I think the server itself, where are we? Has 256 gigabytes of RAM. And so what I did is I set up a VM, and I gave this VM all 56 cores, and I gave it 128 gigabytes of RAM. So this will be our test, our no GPU test, and we'll run Ollama on here. And in the other corner, basically we have my gaming machine. And so this machine it's a number of years old at this point, but it's still pretty good. It is an Intel i9-9900KS running at 4 gigahertz, but it boosts up to about 5 gigahertz, as you can see now. And the video card in it is a NVIDIA RTX 3090 Ti. It is even an EVGA card, so back before EVGA got out of that business. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring up a window on each machine. All right, so in the top window, I am SSH'd into the server. Again, the no GPU device is on top. On the bottom, here is my WSL window running Ubuntu on my gaming laptop. So what we'll do is we will start Ollama on both, running the Llama 3 model. And we just have to wait for these to start up, and then we can ask it a question and start the test. All right, so now let's ask these both one of the most important questions of all time. Who is the best Formula One driver of all time? So remember, no GPU up top, GPU on the bottom. And so I'll try to we'll start these up and We'll watch the results. And I think the results are pretty obvious. So look at that. In a couple seconds, the RTX 3090 is done, and the machine with no GPU is putting out a word every second or two. The difference is simply stunning. So I'll just sit here and we can watch this finish. Actually, no, I'll just let it fast forward real quick, and then we'll look at something else. All right, well, it finally finished up. I think I managed to go get a coffee while it did that. But what's interesting is, before we move away, and this is a whole subject for how these models work, the results are not the same. This is the same underlying model, but this actually shows the statistical approach to how these models generate text. And you can see in the top one, it came up with 7 recommendations. The bottom only came up with 5, but had a list of notable mentions. And within the recommendations themselves, the ordering's different. So I thought that was interesting as well. But let's put the debate over who the best Formula One driver is. I don't agree with this list. We'll put that aside. And I thought it would be interesting to take a look at something fun. So here is the window running on the Proxmox server. And I'm actually going to run this query again, and let's just see how much it taxes the server. All right, so it's up generating the response. So we can see on the server right here, what is that, 28? Half of the 56 cores, and is not using a ton of memory. So it's only using 7 gigabytes out of the 128 I gave it. So it's not fully maxing out the server at all, which was interesting. Now this could just be the way Ollama is written, and it's not designed. It's designed for GPUs, so it's probably not designed to take advantage of a high core server. I'm just guessing, but I thought that was interesting. So let's just do the same experiment and watch the usage on the PC with the same query. So we'll pull up the task manager. Here we have both windows, and so I'll run the query once and we'll look at the CPU utilization, and that is currently sitting at 20% because I'm actually doing, the screen recording is happening on this machine right now. So we'll run this. So the CPU utilization it went up to about 40, there we go, about 40%. And if you look down here, you can actually see the GPU is almost pegged. So let's just flip over to the GPU graph, and we'll run this again. And there you can see the 3D graph on the GPU is going up close to 90%. So heavily utilizing the GPU in this case. Anyway, that was super quick, and I found this to be a fun little project. It only took a few minutes to set up, to grab Ollama and install it. And to me, it was a really good just visualization of the difference in the compute capabilities between GPUs and CPUs, especially as applied to the problem space of machine learning. And I think a good jumping off point from here, and possibly a topic for another video, is to go write some CUDA code and really understand how does code execute on a GPU and what does that look like, because it is slightly different. But we'll leave that for another day, and we'll break here. Hope you enjoyed it, and maybe you can work on this project sometime soon. We'll see you later.